Hello, my name's Stephen Ford. I'm a teacher of Tai Chi, Xing Yi, Yichuan and other Daoist arts, and I'm based in Stockport, Greater Manchester in the north of England. My aim with this series of videos is to present some useful elements of Daoist training that can be approached with a Western perspective in mind. I started my journey into this area of practice back in the 1980s, when, like a lot of young people in that time, I took up Chinese martial arts, typically known as Kung Fu. And over a decade I transitioned into practice of Tai Chi, and through the early 90s I undertook a period of study in Chinese medicine. The diagram that you can now see is designed to show the basic route of study and training. Starting at the bottom, you'll see the term Yang Shen. This relates to the idea of physical health, mental well-being, and the training that's required to achieve those things. Working vertically up, you'll see areas covered include meditation, Daoyin, which is a reference to a type of yoga, which we'll go into later, Baduanjin, which is a specialist form of Daoyin useful for meditation preparation, Jianzhuang, which is a standing exercise sequence, Neigong, which is a more demanding physical training which leans more towards martial practice, and finally pushing hands and martial applications, which are solely for those who are interested in the martial application of Tai Chi and Xing Yi. Meditation comes in many forms. At its most basic, and where we want to start, is simply learning to recognize how busy our minds have become, learn to slow those thoughts down, and over time learn to control the level of agitation and stress that we may experience in our day-to-day lives. It's a highly valuable process and not particularly difficult to achieve. Daoyin, sometimes not quite correctly referred to as Chinese yoga, covers a wide area of study. The movements range from quite gentle and easy to follow to some which are more demanding and require a good deal of practice. The image that you can now see is known as the Daoyin 2. It was found during excavations a number of decades ago, and it's known that the tomb in which it was sealed in was sealed around 170 BCE. So we know this knowledge goes back at least to the 2nd century BCE, and it references ideas and concepts that were written and established in practice a century before that at least. The name Daoyin is often translated as leading and guiding. This references the idea that the mind is deeply involved in each movement, and the will leads the body and guides the energy through the bodily systems. Daoyin is also sometimes referred to as medical gymnastics. This is because, as a system, it is based upon Chinese medical theory, as opposed to the idea of simply stretching and relaxing the body. It's a system of much greater depth. In the short sequence that you can see here, many of the standing exercises I often use during the warm-up process for a Tai Chi class. This has a number of benefits. Firstly, carrying out a regular routine pattern of movement creates something of a ritual process, and the value of ritual is that it brings a person's mind into the space that they are currently occupying. We all lead busy lives, and when we arrive at a class It's all too easy for us to bring our busy lives into the room with us. So going through a simple, repetitive process such as this standing Daoyin enables us to bring our minds fully into focus for the activity that we are there to practice. On a physical level, many of the movements in Daoyin, the standing version, have similarities with Tai Chi, and because of their repetitive nature, it's much easier for a practitioner to learn some of the mechanical skills that improve Tai Chi practice by carrying out Daoyin first. Some of the more difficult postures have the added benefit that they address parts of the body that Tai Chi may not directly address, and other movements, such as the one you see here, prepare the body for some of the more demanding, deeper postures that can be done within the Tai Chi hand form. We can see that above Baduan Jin, which is simply a specialist subset of Daoyin, we have Jianzhong. Jianzhong is what is known as post-standing, and this is a specific form of training. This is designed to bring a sense of structure and relaxation to the body. To achieve this, we utilize a number of different postures that puts pressure and stress on different muscles and joints. Depending upon an individual's current health status, they may choose initially to do these individual standing postures for just perhaps 30 seconds or a minute, and the postures themselves may be held quite high with a focus on keeping the arms low and relaxed. As a person's health and fitness develops, an individual may choose to go through to develop their postures in a more demanding and strenuous style. For instance, here sitting more deeply in the stance with the arms held high, which places a challenge on trying to keep the shoulders relaxed and keeping sufficient strength in the legs, whilst all the time trying to maintain a generally relaxed body with good quality deep respiration. A number of the standing postures are more specialised in that they relate more to the martial practice of Tai Chi and Xing Yi, such as this posture here, which is referred to as a shield and spear style, which is an open, rounded and bracing out posture. It also puts more weight on one leg than another, which increases the load. Similarly, this posture, which is referred to as Santi, which is a narrow posture, but again contains a split of the weight, making the posture a little more difficult, and also includes a degree of isometric work where the body is very gently pressing out with the palms both forwards and downwards at the same time. The last area that I'd like to briefly touch upon is that of Neigong. Neigong, as you can see in this diagram, sits just above the standing post Jianzhong exercises. And like some of the previously mentioned standing post exercises, they are primarily aimed at martial practice and training. Different schools have different versions, but they all broadly have the same objective in mind. It's not something that an average practitioner who's practicing these things for health would normally do, simply because it's physically demanding and it's also quite time consuming. But what you might have noticed with all of these various facets of the training, they're really not separate. They are simply a continuation or a continuum from the most gentle sitting to the most strenuous versions of Neigong, where your body's doing very difficult and strenuous movements. Every individual should choose a level of training that suits them. That relates both in terms of their physical health, their level of interest, their range of interests, and of course their time availability. Because every area of study is linked to every other area, you know that whatever you are doing at any given time is contributing to everything else. If you think this type of content may be of interest and benefit to you, please consider subscribing, visit my website, and please feel free to leave a comment below.